This is the finals. We're here on Xbox Series X looking at the launch of the game. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So this is a free-to-play team-based shooter where the goal is to do a combination of objective-based tasks in order to usually gather gold and money and loot and everything like that as you fight across these fantastical, fully destructible environments. It looks cool, it's flashy, it's stylistic, and it's got some really interesting gameplay mechanics to it. So what are we getting here? This is some level of dynamic 4K resolution at 60 FPS. It does have ray tracing, which is supposed to be a level of global illumination. And yeah, it does actually look really, really impressive. It does. And you, like I said, you can basically destroy just anything. You know, you could throw like a satchel charge there, just blow, you know, this huge chunk of area down. Should have picked the smaller class, because you run into different body types. So like the smaller ones, you're faster. Medium, you know, you're kind of in between. And then the larger ones are slower, but they're more of a foreboding force out there. But yeah, you could take things, and you could just like destroy everything. And the smaller ones too, picking that class would be smart, because you can basically get like a satchel charge, and you could just, you know, it's a lot easier to like be like, hey, I need to get through this wall, I need to get through the ceiling, I need to get through this floor, and then you switch. Like, the game is genuinely impressive in terms of just the design of it, the destructive elements of it. It's utterly fascinating, and I don't think we've had too many games that quite have this layering of full destruction and chaos to them. They do a very, very good job in this one of creating a situation of absolute chaos and the utmost destruction, which is so impressive, as I've mentioned, in so many different ways. And it's, like I said, very, very squad based. So when I'm playing this one, I am a little, I don't know how to describe it. I guess I should first mention you're in teams of 3. So it's like 3v3, v3, v3, and you can do that in different combinations and setups. And when I first played this, and a lot of me playing this, I was kind of like, I don't really get the focus. I'm like, it's kind of fun, you shoot at folks, you take others out. You know, I didn't really, like, I still kind of, I'm like, I don't know, and kind of feel iffy. Like, it's fun to a degree, but it's also, like, repetitive. So I don't know if I necessarily, like, love it. But I've gotten a lot more into it in seeing the tournament mode. So there's 2, like, game modes. It's like you're trying to either deliver these boxes to these places, which is essentially what we're doing now. And then there's another mode where you're kind of, I guess you would say, collecting coins and then sort of depositing those, which is a little bit more individual focused. And I was like, okay, and I kind of like the coin depositing one. But then there's also this tournament area, and that's what we're playing right now. So the tournament mode is like this sort of step-based battle, where it's elimination setup. So your teams will get eliminated as kind of time goes on, and you're trying to, you know, make enough money that you don't get eliminated. And this is where the game, I believe, actually fully shines, is having this mode, because it actually creates a sense of focus, and B, a sense of more serious players. Like, you have players that are actually trying to win and are a lot more aggressive, you know, in their display, what they're doing. There's a lot more stakes, and it's more interesting to me because it's something that takes place over rounds. And it can get really, really competitive and really, really tight as you get to like the last second and do a clutch capture, and you know, your team makes it or they don't make it, and it's really, really quite interesting. And that's where I think the game actually does kind of shine, more so than other modes where it's just quick chaos where you're like learning and playing. Like that one to me is legitimately quite, like this mode is legitimately quite fascinating. And there's just like, there's a lot more strategy and setup to it, I feel, than other modes. And I just like, this is what's really gotten me intrigued in this game. Like I was playing, you know, a fair bit of it. I was streaming it and, you know, doing what I normally do with multiplayer games. And I was like, I don't really get the focus of it. I don't really, you know, I wasn't really connecting with it as much. And I'm still not necessarily like, oh, I think I'm going to be just spending days and days and days playing this. But this game mode in particular absolutely intrigues me because I love that sort of layering of a built team over a selection of matches kind of going at it. And it just, like, the stakes are so much higher and more interesting because it's not just like a quick match where it's like, okay, you know, we win, we lose. There's actually like, okay, we have to win in order to keep going. And I think the game is mostly designed around this too. And then there's the whole concept of like the team wipe. So like your team, you know, you get wiped out, there's like a bit of a penalty to it. It's very costly for your squad, you lose money, and that could like get you eliminated. It's utterly interesting. And then they have these like world events where it's like sometimes meteors come down, sometimes you get like orbitally shot at. If you're out in the open, I didn't mean to slide down there, I wanted to revive my teammate, that looked really bad. But yeah, it's really genuinely intriguing from this perspective of this mode. I'm like, that's cool. Like the other modes, they're fun, they're quick, you jump in, you jump out. But yeah, there is something about the particular setup of this that I find, you know, so utterly interesting compared to the other stuff. And then the game itself has many other layerings too. So, you know, we kind of mentioned the classes. The classes are all distinct. But on top of the distinction of the classes, there's also the element of like customizing these classes. So your classes can basically become even further distinct in their style and their design. Oh, now we're out of the zone, so we're going to lose. I can't believe we actually blew it like that, which is kind of funny. But yeah, you can have like different weapons and tools and setups and different primary abilities depending on the size of your character, and you can create your own character setups and then, you know, buy clothing and stuff. I mean, it's free to play, right? So obviously that's going to be a thing. Do you use jump pads? Do you use the defib? Do you... You know, there's... that's rough. We'll have to jump into another match. But there's all these layers to it, and it's just utterly fascinating. So yeah, that whole competitive angle just really plays into the style of game quite well. And then you move past sort of that setup of a tournament-based thing, and, you know, it's got to focus on communication and whatnot. And I feel like it just doesn't quite come through when you're not sitting here playing the actual tournament mode, which is an interesting twist. Because, you know, traditionally I would not really care about doing super competitive modes in games, you know. Maybe the odd game I take more seriously than others. Where did that guy go? But most of the time I probably wouldn't care as much. But yet, yeah, I feel like this is the way to kind of go about this. How did that end up working? That was really weird. And to move past, as I was saying, you know, past the actual core competitive angle of it, the way that the maps are designed and laid out feed into that system too. Because the maps, there's a few of them. They're actually really all quite great looking and very dynamic. And dynamic in the sense that literally they're basically different every like, you know, the world's going to be carved up differently every time you go about it. But also in the sense that, like, atmospherically they're different. You know, the Vegas map, for example, which is by far my favorite, you know, sometimes there's a sandstorm going on. Sometimes it's nighttime. Sometimes on these other maps it's raining or foggy, and it's just really dynamic too, because it's like there's these realistic but yet surreal places. Some of them have varying levels of design and complexity to them, like some are literally floating areas, and it's taking these moments, I guess, in the history of this universe that exists here, and then kind of putting it into a game show. That's the whole point here, right? Is it's a game show where they're trying to earn money and stuff for the entertainment of the crowd. I do feel that there should be a bit better like team identity with that though too, because obviously, you know, environment wise we'll get back to that, because that's one thing I wanted to kind of mention as well, is that like the ranked mode does a better job of your team identity, whereas it's just like random names, and it's sort of like a lot of randomness in this in regards to like procedural elements, I guess you would say. But like when you're playing quick matches, you don't care about your team identity at all. It's like hard to tell apart the different characters and the different squads, but that's a little bit better in this tournament kind of professional intensive mode. Oh, good kill there. Just quite chaotic. So yeah, going back to the environments, as I always jump around as I do in my reviews and stuff, like they look great. They really do. And it's just this sense of quick, chaotic destruction. Like this whole building is just kind of shredded. It's not in the easiest of way where it's like a one-to-one kind of damage thing. It always doesn't necessarily explode or chaotically break apart like you maybe would want it to. But it just adds to some real levels of unpredictability that I think absolutely work in this game's favor so well. Because it's aesthetically pleasing, seeing, you know, the environment get shredded like this, but it's also just very interestingly tactical, as you see, you know, the building kind of like shattered down. So you've got, at one point, you know, you're kind of, I guess you would say, you know, defending these like blocks where you're cashing out, and it's on one level, and then suddenly, you know, they take out the floor, and then it's on another level, and you've got all this conflict going on across differing setups and scenarios, and it just leads to very, very dynamic gameplay where it's never quite the same. Like, the core loop is the same, obviously. You know, you're coming in here, shooting each other, cashing out, and that's either going to be fun or it isn't for you. But, like, yeah, this tournament version of it has just created this completely new layering to it that I find utterly fascinating. And it's just been a lot more intriguing for me to play compared to the other mode. And then the environment, too, can get further adjusted, because you have, you know, like, obviously there's a satchel charge here, but you could pick up, like, a goo thing. And the canister can be, like... We have to cash out here. Why are my teammates all the way over there? What are they doing? Anyways, you can, like, goo up the environment, or you can burn the environment, or destroy the environment, or shred it. And, you know, you can take out, like, the roof and look down through the roof, and you can get, like, a different tactical advantage. And I think the longevity of this one really will come down to how much support they do for this down the road, you know. How many, I guess you would say, additions they want to make for maps and for different gadgets and stuff that keeps it feeling fresh and fun while not, like, impacting the balancing to any degree, because I know that's going to be something that's important for folks. And if you're wondering about the harsh random cut, I actually ran out of recording storage, which is hilarious, but it's a busy time of year, what can I say? But yeah, I think they really do have something interesting here. And I think for others, it's going to catch on perhaps even better than it is for me. Because I like it. I do enjoy it. There's lots of shooters, though. And I just kind of needed, I guess you would say, like an edge that sort of keeps me going. And this tournament mode kind of feeds into that pretty well. But, yeah, I'm not too sure, because I think communication setups for this are good. Like, you can talk even if you're not, like, chatting directly, you know, you can do the indications, be like, hey, go here, do this. And they've got the party style, and I'm sure they're going to have some very interesting, you know, combinations and tie-ins and stuff, because obviously, again, it's like a free-to-play game, right? But I'm kind of, wow, I got incinerated there. I'm impressed by what I'm seeing from a technology standpoint. Like, you could just really change up your world. And I love that we're getting destruction in different ways now. Like Siege, it was really, really cool that you could, you know, tactically use it. And for me, that's the largest thing when it comes down to, why would you just run right over all those mines? That's crazy. Like, it's about tactical usages of destruction. Like, destruction is cool by itself. Like, honestly, I have fun with the destruction. I like just blowing things up in games. It's cool, it's satisfying, it's interesting and intriguing. Especially as, like, the world kind of shatters and all this crazy stuff happens. But I love it even more when it's used with a level of purpose. Like, why am I destroying this? What does this provide to me when I'm battling? And that sounds maybe silly to some, but this game is actually using, or it could be using, depending on the situation you're in, the environmental destruction to your advantage or your disadvantage as you shift down an objective in order to, you know, be able to go down to a smaller area where you get a better tactical advantage, or maybe a team is really using their setup well and you're trying to disrupt that by taking away the room that they have. And then you're able to, like, set up almost like traps and stuff if you use your certain mines, and it's a layer on a layer on a layer of game, and there's all these, like, tricky little things. I do kind of wish that maybe some of the, some of the explosive elements were a little bit more damaging, like, you know, propane tanks and stuff like that. It would be kind of cool if they did more, and, you know, some of the shooting stuff, like I said, can be little awkward for me gameplay wise, but I think there is a lot of promise here, and it's really going to come down to whether or not this is something that has, oh, come on, hit an edge of excitement for others and has captured their interests. For me, I'm kind of like, it's okay. It really is. I love the tournament mode though a lot more, but I still don't know how much I'm going to sit here playing this as I kind of grind out the achievements. Like, it's kind of fun, it's kind of enjoyable. I like that there's a bit more focus outside of the main two kind of random casual modes, because I don't know if those ones fully hit the mark and excite for me. I had such a good round last match. I just want to put it out there, like, didn't get, like, captured as I was sitting there. I was like, oh, it ended? I was like, oh, man. What a bummer. But I hope I've kind of given you, like, a little bit of context. Oh, that was a good use of that. In understanding, like, what this game is, what it has to offer. It's tactical destruction, fast-paced chaos, and it's got some really neat levels of environmental shifting, damage, and change. And I don't know if we've seen anything quite like this, especially from a shooter, in quite a while. So it is a bit refreshing from that particular angle and perspective. So I'm really, really interested to see the long game, and where this ends up going. But that Vegas map is beautiful. Once again, that Vegas level is just kind of stunning. They nailed it with that one, that's for sure. This map looks great too, and the other levels do as well, but that Vegas level is truly, truly quite something special. They really created something very intriguing to see, especially with, like, the differing weathering conditions and whatnot. I don't know how they were able to compile something so distinctly wild and strangely competitive too. Like, it really, really can get so back and forth where it's just wild. I can't believe we lost right off of that. That's a bit of a crushing defeat situation. That's what that is.